you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel.
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
12 this morning, Sirius XM, channel 375. I'm Ari Temkin. I'm with Dave Archer, former Iowa State Atlanta Falcons quarterback. Visit now with friend of the program, RJ Young. RJ Young Show on the Tulsa Sports Animal, 97.1 in Tulsa. Also staff writer for Soonerscoop.com. Or
OU Insider.
Insider.com.
There you go.
My apologies. OUinsider.com, OU247 on Twitter. What up, RJ? How are you, buddy?
I'm getting there, brother. It was all kind of cool until Sunday, and then had a lot of news breaking around here related to all Big 12 and, of course, Kennedy Brooks.
So give us the latest on Kennedy Brooks. This sort of, he obviously wasn't there for spring practice and hasn't been with the team, but this is kind of seemed to come out of nowhere.
Right. So, my colleague and I at OU Insider were hearing the same thing from different sources about Kennedy Brooks. So we're like, okay, we got to do some of that reporting stuff now. So we went and spoke around to a lot of other people related to, hey, Kennedy hadn't been here. And it's going, wait a second, what's going on with that? So as close as we could get was he was not participating in team activities. Personal reasons were as close as we could get to. And then Jason Kersey at The Athletic dropped the news that, one, he had been involved in a Title IX investigation. There was a complaint filed by a female OU student that was not the woman that the complaint was about, right? So there was no police charge, and there was no actual charge from her. And yet the duty of the Title IX office at Oklahoma is to investigate all complaints. So during that time, according to OU's statement, they held him out of team activities because it's their policy. And I think, it was the right thing to do. And he was apparently still in Norman and still working out, just not related with the team as all of this was getting done. And Tuesday, he was cleared to participate not just in football-related activities, but of this Title IX investigation. And good for him, as it was coincidentally, he's named to the All-Big 12 team. So that's kind of interesting. And also, anybody notice Puka Williams Jr. was named to this team too? And Les said he's going to sit out a game?
It's tough but fair, RJ. Tough but fair penalty.
RJ, how strange is this that there was a complaint brought to the Title IX officials, but nothing with the police? How strange is that?
Very much so. But I also think it's in keeping with what we know and understand about domestic violence complaints and or charges. We're seeing this play out in the NFL. It seems every 3-4 months. Right now, Tyreek Hill is in the middle of one, right? And regarding something he did at Oklahoma State as well, because the girlfriend he had there is the girlfriend he has now. So it's strange, but I also understand it, because if you're afraid to go and complain about a star football player, we could all pretty much understand that, right? And we could all understand why you might not want to do it yourself and why somebody else might feel a duty to report it on your behalf.
RJ Young, from the Tulsa Sports Animal and OUinsider.com right here on Big 12 this morning, Sirius XM, channel 375. RJ, do you think you and I were the only two to vote for Jalen Hurts as Offensive Player of the Year and first-team quarterback?
Must be, right? Because you look at the dude's resume, and people are like, Sam Ehlinger beat Georgia. Jalen Hurts beat Georgia. You remember that? Remember when he bailed Tua out in the SEC championship? It's going to be fun, though, right? Because it gives me a lot to talk to, gives a lot to talk about, gives you a lot to talk about. But if you're looking at the cases, what are you actually saying? You're just saying that Sam Ehlinger played in the Big 12 last year, and that's why he's your preseason Offensive Player of the Year and all Big 12 quarterback? Because if we're looking at the stats, they don't really line up. One guy started, one guy did not. We all know what the situation is. And I kind of wondered who was watching what last year.
Well, when you look at Jalen Hurts and what he brings to the table, obviously he had an outstanding spring at Oklahoma. I guess we all think we know what he did at Alabama. Certainly his record, it indicates that, 29-2 as a starter. And as you mentioned, RJ came off the bench to actually rescue Alabama in the SEC title game, a game I called right here in Atlanta. So his ability to play the game obviously is not in doubt. What will Oklahoma look like offensively? We've been kind of discussing this over the last few days, talking about what OU might look at like you've talked about it a number of times. I guess I'm doing a bad job of getting to this question. You've talked about it at great length and done a great job of talking about how Lincoln Riley has the ability to morph into whatever he needs to be, even in games, to do that. What will Oklahoma look like? Will they look dramatically different than the team we've seen offensively, the way they go about themselves, than the other two quarterbacks that have played their last?
I mean, you bring up a really good point, a really good question, and one that I've actually had a lot of fun going through thought exercises about what I know about Riley, what I know about Hurts. And I think you got to remember, Jalen Hurts didn't come here just to play at OU. He came here to become a better quarterback. And when you look at him on film, there are two glaring weaknesses to me, right? He can't throw deep to his offhand. He can't throw shallow to his offhand. That's his left hand. And he has a really tough time if you load the box against him, because you take away those design runs and you're saying, we're just going to take away the run game altogether. And I was thinking that that's what Lincoln Riley would default to if Jalen Hurts turned out not to be the kind of passer that we think he can be, with Riley not just calling the plays, but as a quarterback's coach. And I think that's the part about this that's really interesting is, does Lincoln Riley just fix some mechanics, and then all of a sudden you see the sort of offense that you saw in 2017 and 2018? Or do you just say, you know what, we're going to do what Jalen Hurts does well. We're going to do some design runs. We're going to hand the ball off. We're going to roll him out. And we're going to see if our offensive line can bully Big 12 defensive lines. And I think it can. But then you talk about the college football playoff, where you're playing against better defenses, and you need a guy that can do all the things Jalen Hurts already can do, but also can complete those passes downfield, which is the reason he got sacked for Tua in the first place. So I think the default is going to be something like what OU ran in 2015, Baker Mayfield's first year, where you saw a lot of big sets. You saw bigger wide receivers, sometimes two tight ends. You saw a fullback in play a lot. You ran the ball. You understood that was a strength of yours, and you tried to throw deep when you could. Now, again, we're going to find out whether or not Jalen Hurts can do that stuff really quickly against Houston, UCLA, so forth, so on. But that's going to be the thing right now. If he could throw the ball, you'll see the same offense. If he can't throw the ball, you're going to see a lot of what he did at Alabama.
RJ Young joining us right here on Big 12 this morning, Sirius XM, Channel 375. What was the biggest surprise for you, maybe beyond, Jalen Hurts and Sam Ehlinger on that offensive or defensive player of the year stuff for the Big 12?
Chuba Hubbard getting some love there, man. There's a lot of people expect him to be the next great back at Oklahoma State. And as a place that, at least the last couple of years, been pretty good with Dax Hill at running back, and you saw guys just leave the program, right? I think with a new quarterback, don't know who that's going to be. We all think it's probably going to be Spencer Sanders, who is Mr. Texas football, no big deal. But that guy, seeing him get the love he did, and then people recognizing that Kenneth Murray Jr. can actually play the game defensively, right? Because there's a lot of talk here locally about whether or not Murray is an out-and-out middle linebacker, because he's late diagnosing plays, but he is your best athlete and your best chase tackler. To put that in perspective, 155 tackles last year, only 47 were solo. So he was in on everything, but getting there first has not been his strong suit, and that's going to be one of the things that I want to see if Alex Grinch can help him develop with. So those were the two that stood out to me.
RJ, about Alex Grinch, the attraction of top-level talent to come to OU to play defense, Alex Grinch seems to have had an impression on those people, declaring that all jobs are open here, we need help. Have you been impressed with how guys continue to come to OU, even though that they were kind of looked down upon as far as a defensive team? Grinch seems to have really positively affected whatever recruiting they're doing on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah,
he's doing a high wire act, man. I've always said that of the last few years, any 4-star, 5-star kid you pick up is coming here out of his good friggin' graces, because you can't prove to him that you're going to develop him for the NFL. The best defensive player to come out of Oklahoma in the last few years, Tony Jefferson, went undrafted, right? That's a big deal. Eric Stryker went undrafted. But what he's been saying, and this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but there are kiddos that have put in quotes there. He told me that he doesn't have any NFL talent on that defense and that I can come there and I can play. So one, yeah, recruits want to hear that, but I wonder how that's going to resonate with your team. And what I've been using is the analogy of Major Payne, which is a movie, but the premise is I am going to make you mad at me. I am going to be the focus of all your anger. And if you go out there and you play mad and you play angry and we win, everybody will forget about what I said over the summer when I was trying to recruit. Because you're also saying that the 2- and 3-star kids you had at Washington State are better than the 4-star, 5-star kids you have at OU. So no matter how he's doing it, and I'm really interested to see how this works out, because if it works, fine. If it doesn't, oh my goodness, can you have a fire or not?
Whatever happened to Damon Wayans?
He got old, man. He took vacation. I was talking to Ryan about that. He took a vacation.
Good analysis.
Clint Eastwood's old. He's still doing things. What's wrong with Damon Wayans?
Man, Clint Eastwood doesn't want to sleep, dude. Just
Doesn't want to sleep. RJ Young, OUinsider.com. And, of course, you can always listen to his show on the Tulsa Sports Channel 97.1 in Tulsa. Appreciate your time, brother. Be well. Thank you.
thanks, Ari. Thanks, Dave.
Great job, RJ. Thank you.
We'll see RJ at Big 12 Media Days next week.
All right, I'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Bye.
Later.